About a 15-minute drive from the glamorous, lavish bustle of Copacabana Beach is this little gem in one of Rio's most historic regions. It's called Praca Maua, and it is absolutely drenched in a legacy that's just as colorful and vibrant as it is dark and shameful. Praca Maua is a tiny Afro-Brazilian stronghold enclosed within the greater Porto Maravilha region. Helena Galiza, an architect and campaigner for urban development, has extensive knowledge of the area and its history.
The city began here, near this part. The old port was here. And when in 1880, Napoleon tried to occupy Portugal, and the real family came to live in Brazil. And when they came, the principal port of the city was here, and they changed to this part of the sea.
Development around the new port was rapid and robust, but in 19th century Brazil, that only meant one thing. The South American country has one of the longest and darkest histories of slave trade in the world, importing more Africans into slavery than any other modern civilization. The site I'm standing in was excavated just a few years ago, while the city was in the process of an urban rejuvenation project that included Praca Maua. It was built in 1811, when Rio's main slave port and trading market was moved from Rua Direita to here. Over 500,000 slaves were disembarked, shackled, and traded. Right here. In Praca Maua, a new battle is being waged to save the community of mostly African descendants from cultural erasure and corporate gentrification.
The specific site is very important historically. It's seen as a kind of identity place for Afro-Brazilians mostly, and you can still see buildings like this one, which is a historical one. So it's a historical heritage, but it has a lot of structural problems. It has no reform. It has leaking inside. So we're trying to do something to call attention to this contrast, how you can invest so much in a place and not in others, and not have a broader idea of urbanism.
Que na verdade tem uma briga em relação à manutenção da identidade e da memória do povo negro aqui na região portuária. Você tem a própria região da Pequena África sendo simbolizada ali no painel, né, englobando todos os bairros que compõem o que muitos conhecem como a Pequena África.
The group that called us to make this painting is what we call a quilombola, so it's a traditional community of Afro-descendants, and many of them, or at least Afro-descendants, are being displaced pretty much due to the gentrification that is already happening in the neighborhood, but also because a lot of them had jobs in the port, and now that the port is only receiving tourists and not merchandising, you already have this effect that, well, you change the whole economics of the region, and you're changing it in a way that it's not accessible to a lot of people who lived here before.
And the people who find themselves locked out of these new economic opportunities are the very same who laid the foundations of 2016's Olympic City.
We need to understand that traditionally Rio is a black city. Since during the most part of the history of Rio de Janeiro, it was there was much more black people living in Rio than white people. Its situation started to change in the beginning of in the end of the 19th century, when there was immigrations from Europeans to Brazil. But the reality of Rio de Janeiro during most part of its history, it's a black city.
Nós costumamos dizer que com essa comida nós estamos reproduzindo nossos irmãos de África.
Oh, obrigado. But Afro-Brazilian culture isn't just limited to this one city block. The Africans who were brought here as slaves through a port not too far away from here
also gave the world the samba and capoeira, not to mention some of the most delicious food to be found anywhere in Rio. It's really good. Hold on. It's good. Junia Stainbank from Praca Maua in Rio de Janeiro.